All right, so good evening, everyone. For those who have not met me, I see a few new faces on the training today. Those who have not met me, my name is John Rollins. I'm the Interim Operations Director with the North Central Florida YMCA, and I have the pleasure of being the trainer for the summer camp counselor training. This is day 4 of training. We trained on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week. All of those trainings were recorded and are available in a shared drive. So for those who are wanting to catch up, you can go and request of your supervisor, and then they can share the training with you. It is on YouTube now as a private link, but I also uploaded them to the shared drive for you. All right. So in the first couple of days, day 1, we went over the parent handbook. Day 2, we went over the some day camp fundamentals. Last week we went over, so on a Friday we went over some of the how does a day look like? What are our roles as trainers, as counselors, as staff members? Today, what I want to do is I want to go over the emergency action plan. I also want to go over incident report writing, and I want to also go over the activities, give you a list of activities that you are able to do. What I want to remind everyone is that everything that we're doing, materials that we're going over, it will be available in an electronic format, and each site will have a binder. We have some counselors who are working diligently in trying to get all the materials ready for your sites. We've also worked on getting the equipment ordered for your sites. So every site should have some sports equipment that will be made available by the YMCA. I've also asked some of the counselors to go ahead and put a counselor a binder, a counselor manual together for as many of the counselors as we can. And Mr. Stefan Melvin, thank you so much, sir, for your work and helping to get that ready for our team, Mr. Stefan and Ms. Kenya and Ms. Sanvi and Ms. Denija. These are some of the people who are here working in Gainesville to try to make sure that we are ready for you all to be able to have a successful summer camp. I imagine that before the end of the week, we should be making some deliveries, or hopefully Ms. Brandy will come by and pick them up. I do know that at the different sites, we need to identify a person to receive the materials. Ideally, we will have them in your hand by the end of the week so that on Monday, you'll be able to start your camp with everything that you need. We're still trying to get some first aid kits ordered in so that you will have that for you. So, and we'll show you a lot of the stuff that we've been working on to try to get it prepared for you. But I just want you to know that we are doing as much as we can, given what we have available, to try to make sure that every site is ready for that for Monday. And that's it, guys. Monday, June 5th at 7 a.m. I got to echo Mr. Nice. We have we start the summer camps, and so I hope you had a good weekend. I hope that you have fun this week. Then that is so that you're ready to go when we start on on Monday. All right. So before I begin, what we've done in the last few sessions is we've given you all an opportunity to ask any questions or answer any questions. I'm sorry, that's for me to answer any questions that you may have about something that we've gone over that didn't make sense, or something that we haven't gone over that you think we need to go over. So before I start, I'll give anyone an opportunity to ask any questions on anything that has taken place up to this point. All right, very good. No questions. All right. I will ask this. I sent out some emails this morning about people who have yet to be entered into our payroll system. If you received an email from me, then that means that we're missing something from you for your payroll to be completed. Many people are just waiting on their background checks and fingerprints to be processed. Okay, but you should have received an email from Paylocity with an invite for you to create an account and then to upload all of your documents for pay. Now, we do not do direct deposit, so we will be doing paychecks, but you should have received an email either from Paylocity, from Ms. Leslie, and I sent out emails on this morning. So go and check your email. If you did not get an email from me, that means that we already have all of your information. But if you did get an email, please go into Paylocity and complete the onboarding process, or let me know what else it is that you need so that we can get you into our pay system. If you're not in our pay system, we are unable to pay you. And these are supposed to be paid trainings. And I want to pay you for it, but I have to have something that I can attach a pay to. And that's your name, that's your information in our payroll system. So please, if you have not already completed all the onboarding processes, please go and do it so that you can be entered into our payroll system. Ms. Adriana, I see your text message. You are entered into our payroll system now. You are a returning employee, so yours is good, okay? So
Okay, thank you.
if you didn't get an email from me, then you're probably in a good place, but please go and check your emails just to make sure that you are ready to go in our pay system so that we can start paying you. I mean, I'm grateful that you're willing to volunteer, but I don't think you should volunteer if we're offering to pay you. And we are offering to pay everyone who's here as long as you enter the complete the information to set up your payroll account. Okay, what questions do you have about that, anyone? All right, very good. All right, so let's get started. There are a couple of things we want to do on today. All right. Let me open it up. I didn't open up the right document, so let me go and open it up. All right, so the first thing that I want to do today is I want to show you some incident reports. In your binders, you're going to have an incident report, you're going to have an accident report, you're going to have a first aid report, and you're going to have what's called, we have a sunny day report, a sunshine report. Sunshine report is a place where you can tell people if they have done a good job. Okay, so I want to show you some of those, and these are some from last year's. I tried to block out all of the information that can be attributed to a particular child because we don't want to do that. Okay, but I'm going to open up a couple of different. All right, you should be able to see my screen. All right, and the first thing that I want to show you, okay, let's see here. All right, so this is a medication report. This is a medication report. I've tried to take away the name so that you couldn't see who it was. All right, so can you all see that okay? Say somebody on I'm paused.
I can't see it at all.
All right, I just saw that it said that I'd paused.
Black screen.
That's not you, sir. That's not you.
Oh.
All right, hold on a second. Let me new share here, there. All right, very good. All right. Now you all should be able to see that, right? Someone unmute and let me know if you can see it.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
It's coming in.
So this is the employee. You, whoever we assign to that particular role, you put your information here, acknowledge that the following medication are in my custody for the name of the child, and we put the child's birth date. Okay, this is the name of the organization that gives us permission to administer that medication. All right, and so we have the name of the person that's given permission. We get them to sign it, they date it, and then on that form, it should tell us what the medication is, when should it be administered, when should it, of the purpose of it, and how many are in that packet. All right. So we will have that information. And then additionally, we'll have a separate document that shows that we received this from them and that we administered that medication on a daily basis. Again, whoever's assigned that role, they will sign their names acknowledging that they've given that medication to that person. Okay, so this is the offsite custody of medication. That parent or that agency has given us permission to house that medication for that individual. And then we create a log where we actually give that medication to that child based on whatever those instructions are on that container or in writing. Okay, it tells the time that we give it, the name of it, how much they get, and why are they receiving it. I want to stress that this is personally identifiable information. We do not communicate or have conversations about these individuals and the medicine that they're receiving. Okay, I know that goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. That is not public knowledge. We do not share that information with anyone. The only people who should know about that should be the person who is administering that information and the site supervisor. No one else, nor the counselor, should have knowledge of that information about that particular child. All right, what question do you have about that? No other questions?
Sorry if
Okay.
I was him-humming a bit about this, but what happens if, like, okay, like you normally is the one that administrates the medicine to the child, but you have to take like a weekend or something off, and would a site supervisor pick out the new person, or should you like speak with them about it, or
If I don't know if you finished your question, but if I understand, if the person who is assigned that role, if they're not available, that's why the site supervisor will also know the conditions for that particular child. So the site supervisor will either assign someone else to do that task, or they will be responsible for it themselves.
okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Any other questions from anyone? Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I'll unmute so you can ask.
My question was, oh my gosh. So, Mr. John, you said for that little medication report, you said that that's only for our eyes only and the counselor.
That is correct. That is not public information. Any other questions from anyone? You're muted. I'm gonna unmute so you can. I'm gonna mute.
And we did discuss how the office managers are the people who typically administer the medicine.
So I don't know if office managers are going to be assigned at each site. So that could be the lead, or it could be someone that the site supervisor identifies. Okay, but I don't know if office manager is a title that is going to be at every site.
Did you share that when a child needs their medication, how we disclose that information through the walkie with a secret code?
So we have not gotten that far yet.
Okay.
But since we're here, typically we do not call the child's name and say, hey, look, I might need John Ross to come take his medication. Okay, we normally call the counselor who's working with that child over the radio or the walkie-talkie and say that we need John for a sunny day. And sunny day is the code that we use to let the counselor know that it's time for that person to come and take their medication. Okay, the phrase is sunny day. Okay, I'm gonna go outside for about 2 minutes. I'll be back.
But it's the idea to get clean, kids to clean put the aluminum back in the right resources and dumpsters. I get involved in all this project. Thank you, Victor.
All right. All right. Thank you all, everyone. I appreciate that. I know that we talked about it, but that was a case where we actually had our health inspector to come to the site to conduct that inspection. And so I know we talked about it as a part of what we're doing here with the YMCA, the different sites. But yeah, and they don't have to make an announcement. He just walked in through the door. I'm here to do an inspection. I mean, where's the one from last year? Last time I was here, what corrections have you made? What corrections haven't been made? Okay, and so that's who I was dealing with. And unfortunately, you can't just blow him off because he could shut down our site. So we were talking about incident reports. All right, so I showed you the medication, off-site medication permission form. We actually have a log where we show when we've administered. Okay. I want to show you now a let's see here how we can do this. Okay. All right. All right. So this is an example of a sickness report. Please acknowledge as you can see it. Someone, anyone?
I
All
see
right,
it.
very good. All right. So, and we put the name of the camper. In our case, we have age, we have color groups, but you can put the age or the group that the child is in, the date and the time, and if a temperature was taken, what that temperature was. Okay. And then we have a narration or a description of the incident. I request that it's written so that other people can read it. If your handwriting, if your cursive writing is not good, then please print it out, and so that other people can read it. All right. In this particular case, the child was playing. Child rolled their wrist, and they were injured for a little while. Okay. Was a guardian notified? Yes. The time that the person was notified and who was notified. Can it tell you, was a guardian notified? Who? Yes, at 11:20, we notified mom. And then what action did we take? We brought to the office, applied some ice, contact the guardian, and that's what we do. We dated. Many times what we like the parent to do is to acknowledge that they saw it. They don't have to get a copy of it unless they request it. Typically they don't, unless it's something significant. But we get them to acknowledge that they were notified and they dated the time that we tell them. If it happened on that day, that parent should be notified that day. That parent should sign the form that day. What we said before is we try to not have time to lapse between the incident and when we communicate with that parent, or when we make that parent aware and have them to acknowledge it. Because all that does is that sets us up for complications in the future. What happened between the time that the incident took place and the time I was notified? Why was there such a time lapse? Okay, so if we can get them to sign it the day of, then we want to do it that way. Okay, that's an incident report, a sickness report. Okay, that should have probably more of an incident report than a sickness. Okay, but either way, we notified mom, we applied the first aid. Okay, that probably more of an incident than a sickness report. All right. I'm going to the next one unless somebody sends a text or asks a question. All right, the next one that I want to show is all right. So if everyone can see this, I'm going to ask you a question. It is not a trick question. I'm going to ask you a question. It is not a trick question. So camp runs from June through July. Who can tell me what's wrong with this incident report?
the date is September, so it's not during the like actual camp.
Okay, all right, that is correct. These are documents of record. And so whenever you see a discrepancy on it, then it opens up the door for, if that's not accurate, what else is inaccurate about this document? We retain these documents. These are ones that I'm pulling from last year's camp. We retain them. And because if we're ever questioned on them, we have to provide something. These are the documents of record. Okay, I can tell you that we did not have summer camp in September. Now, here's where they did correct it. But someone answer this question for me. If I corrected it here, why didn't I correct it here?
Now that's a trick question. Whoever did the corrections should have made the corrections in both spots, not just left one.
Okay, and when we receive these reports are being reviewed by a couple different people. The counselor who writes it, they should review it before they bring it to the supervisor. The supervisor who reads and signs it, they should also be reviewing it for accuracy. All right. So we had a staff report it, we had a staff to receive it, okay, but this did not get caught. And so we want to encourage you when somebody brings for those of you who are leads, those of you who are supervisors, please review what that person writes, what the counselor writes, and what you sign your name to, because when you sign your name to it, you are acknowledging that you are agreeing with what's there. All right. A camper bumped into another camper while playing in the gym. Campers began pushing one another and an altercation was broken up by staff. Okay. I love this because it does not put individuals' names there. Now the name is here, okay, but in the actual report, it doesn't list the names. So here we had to redact it. If it had been, we would have had to redact it before we showed it to anyone else. Okay, no injury sustained, action taken, student pulled aside, parent called. This one doesn't talk about the time and who was called. So this is the stuff that we're looking for when we were putting these together. All right. All right, what questions on that one? Is this helping anyone?
I think so. I'm definitely taking mental notes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stefan, for responding. I don't know how to interpret everyone else's response, so I'll keep it moving. All right. This one I think is a little bit more involved. Okay, I'm going to bring my screen up. All right, the date, the time, the location, everywhere where it is, and this is an incident report as well. The actual document speaks of an accident. But it talks about, and this is a pretty detailed incident report. So I'm going to give you all a chance to read it if you can. I'm going to reduce it just a tad. Is that too much? Larger, yes, no? Somebody talk to me? This is for you all.
Zoom it in a little bit more, just a little bit. Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
Okay. And I will scroll down when you all tell me to scroll down.
Okay, this is very detailed, but I think it might be a little too detailed. He could have stripped some of that back, I think, included only the details that we needed to know. I mean, what he did seemed like what you're supposed to do in situations like that, but he didn't need to be that detailed, I think.
Okay. So in this particular case, we actually ended up calling EMS. And so in this particular case, this is the level of detail that we would want, given what happened and our actions. Okay, you see we're here, call 911 and waited for EMS to arrive. Okay, in this particular case, this is the type of detail that we need. Okay, what I was hoping that someone, and I can't stop, if I stop sharing you all, you see if I can put my, I want to see what you see in this description that is key for us. I know you all see a big gray box. That's because I have my video screen up there, but I put it to the side of the text. Okay. I want to notice what I want you to tell me what you notice about this description. And it's at the beginning of the narrative. And it's going to be key for us as I'll mute.
That their names are involved, and you shouldn't really use names.
Yeah, we shouldn't use names. We should not use names, especially when there's encounters with another child. Okay, but in this case, there was not an encounter with another child, so the use of names was okay. But there's something else that I want to see if you all pick up on. I'm going to unmute Mr. Nee so you can speak, because I want everyone else to hear what you asked.
Is it the fact that the counselor was away from the kid at the time of the accident?
So the question is it because the counselor was away from the kid at the time of the accident? All right. In this particular case, the counselor was not assigned to that group. The person who wrote this report was actually assisting. So they were not the primary counselor. What I want you to see to this is when you do an incident report, you write what you know. You write what you personally observed. This person did not see the incident. They were called to the pool deck. So for them to put in the incident report what someone else told them is not appropriate. Okay, so you see nothing about what happened prior to the person arriving on the scene. You see everything about what happened once that person arrived on the scene. In this case, this person was a senior member of the staff, and so they were not assigned to the group. Okay. When you do incident reports, write what you observe, not what you think, not what someone told you, unless you're doing a fact finding. Doing a fact finding, okay, typically we try not to write, we try to give the people a chance to write their own statements. Okay, but if you're doing a small child who doesn't write, you have to write it for them. Okay, but you notate in your description that you are reciting what the other person told you. Does that make sense? Please acknowledge you with a thumbs up or a yes or something.
Yes, sir. That makes sense.
All right, write what you know, not what you think. If you write what you think, is easily challenged. It's easily challenged. It's called hearsay, and it doesn't carry a lot of weight. And if we start talking about what we think and what we heard, it takes away from the credibility of the of the organization's attempt to describe the incident. All right. Now, this is other stuff that we've already talked about with the person who did it. This person did not have any PPE. And you see a couple of times in here where they came into encounter with a child's hazardous fluids. Okay, they talked about the child vomiting, and they're trying to catch it in a towel. Talked about the child bleeding. They talked about moving the child. So there are several things that this person, in retrospect, is aware that they could have done differently. And I understand that in that moment we react. I have no problem with it, but I do know that because we've been trained in CPR, first aid, we are going to be held accountable to the level of the training. Now, that's how you protect yourself. That's how you protect our organization. Okay, respond to the level of your training. In this particular case, the parent let us know that the child had an incident earlier that weekend. The parent was not caught off guard by any of this. The child's condition was something that they were aware of. They treated the child. We called it, make sure that the child was okay. They thanked us for our concern, and they were able to bring the child back. The child had a wonderful time and is scheduled to be back with us again this year. This one worked out really well, but a lot of it worked out well because we were fortunate. There's some other pieces that we have to be a little more proactive to try to keep it from occurring. All right, questions or comments on that? It could have been a bee sting. It could have been a spider sting. It could have been a tooth that got knocked out. Could have been a child that fell and broke a wrist. It happens just like that. It happens so quickly. And we need to be eyes on and engage with the children. We're not going to catch everything, but we can eliminate a lot of the stuff just by the level of attention that we're saying, that we're offering to them. And on Friday, we talked about we see with our eyes, we're observing with our eyes, and we are observing with our ears. So we're looking around and we're listening for things that just appeared a little bit out of the norm, and we are prepared to address those issues. Okay. All right. I think I may have one or two more. Let me check here. One more. All right, I'm gonna let you read this, and I want someone to give me your thoughts on what you see for this description of this incident. What do you see? There are a couple of things in here.
Richmond Baptist Church.
If you don't ask, you don't know. Don't know, ask.
Didn't you say that we're not supposed to include names if it's two campers involved?
Right. All right, what else is there? One's kind of obvious, the other's a little more subtle.
Is that
Right.
a name on there that says the
This is the
siblings?
name.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, that shouldn't be here. Okay. Here's a little subtle piece. Okay. The person, the camper who was hit is not the camper who created the incident. Okay. You got brothers and sisters, you got cousins, you know, good friends, okay? And something happens to their cousin, brother, sister, good friend, okay? We have to be prepared for them reacting to the situation. All right. So that's why we get to know our campers. We know who's the friends, who go to school together, who's the friends and relatives, and we know that so that when we see something, they're going to run to and try to help. And then in many cases, they're going to try to defend it. We don't know that if we don't know our campers. And the other thing this is probably just more grammatical. Okay. This person made contact with a basketball with another camper's face. Did the person hit the camper in the face with a basketball? Or what happened? Made contact with a basketball with another camper's face? What is that? Okay. Accidentally did it or not? They were hit in the face with the, so this person was hit in the face with a basketball. It's kind of obvious that either somebody threw it or shot it. Okay. This person thought that it was they said it was an accident. This person thought it was intentional and they reacted to it. So when we're writing our incident reports, write them so that it makes sense. All right. What questions do you have for me? We will do some more on incident writings. We probably will just have you write some sample incident reports just so that you can get in the habit of doing it. All right. What questions? If no questions, we're gonna take a quick break. All right. So let's be back in 5. Yes, no, somebody talk to me.
5 minutes sound good.
5 minutes, very good. Thank you all. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the emergency action plan. So there are 2 things that I wanna do. Talk about the emergency action plan, and we wanna talk about what to do with an active shooter. Okay, I pray that we never have to experience either of these, but I believe that if we provide you with a set of actions in the event that you have to do something, then at least you'll be better prepared than not doing anything. That's a double negative, than doing nothing. All right, here we go. Emergency action, emergency procedures. All right. I want give me 2 people to unmute and tell me the physical address of your site. 2 people to unmute and tell me the physical address of your site.
5201 Northwest 34th Boulevard, Gainesville, Florida 32605.
Thank you, Miss Adriana. Someone from a different site, unmute and tell me your address or address, depending on which side of the track you were raised.
5201 Northwest 34th Boulevard.
Thank you, Ms. Janice, but you got help from Miss Adriana. I need somebody who's not in Gainesville to give me the address of your site, and you'll know why when you do it, please.
Okay, I will. So it's 21633 65th Avenue, Hawthorne, Florida, 32640.
Okay, all right. And that is important because if you have to dial 911, and if you did so from your cell phone, the address may not come up. They have what's called an enhanced identifier where it can put the address in the from the caller's location, but you're calling from your cell phone, it may not work that way. And so you're going to need to be able to tell the responding units where they need to go. And we can do that by knowing the address of our site. Not only do we need to know the address, but if we have multiple buildings on the site, then we need to be able to tell them which building we're in. If we're in portables, we need to be able to tell them where on the grounds we are located or where the emergency is located. If it's on the soccer field, if it's on the basketball court, because all of those are just steps that will help the responding units get there quicker in the event of an actual emergency. So you want to familiarize yourself with the layout of your building. You want to know if there's a building number or name, and you definitely want to know the address where you are serving this summer. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? Yes or no?
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay, all right. Civil disorder, we had a lot of that during the, well, I don't know if I'll call it disorder, but we had a lot of people who were tense doing some other stuff that was going on. If you're at a site and something just happens at your location or in your community, and you think it may run a risk of what we're trying to do as an agency for the summer, then we need to be prepared. People may come and want to protest. People may come and want to express their First Amendment rights, and whatever amendment is it first or fifth anyway, but they want to come in and they want to make their point known at your site. And we're not paid to confront our community members. We are paid to provide for our children, give them a safe and fun environment. And so if someone shows up and they have a different point of view than you do, okay, you don't have to try to deal with them. You turn it to the site supervisor. You call the site director, the camp director, or you can call myself or Miss Angela. We are the ones who will respond. I will stress this now, and it'll probably come up multiple times if necessary, but you are never to be a spokesperson for the YMCA. If you're the site supervisor, if you're the lead, if you are a counselor, you are not the spokesperson. The only person who is supposed to be speaking on behalf of the YMCA is Miss Angela Howard, our CEO. I don't even make, without her permission, I don't do interviews, anything for the YMCA. She is the only person who's designated. So if the TV reporter shows up, somebody wants to interview you, our statement is, thank you for your interest. If you want to give me your information, I'll forward it to the individuals who make those decisions. That's it. No comment, whatever. But we do not speak to the news reporter. We don't speak to government officials. We don't. That's not a role that we have. All right. But going back to the civil disorder, the disagreement can't be quieted. We called for our leaders, the camp director, the interim operations director, or the CEO. Okay. Most times you reach out to me, and then I will speak with Ms. Howard and tell her what it is that's going on, and then she and I will agree on the course of action. All right. If there's a need for first aid, we should have all received training in first aid. We administer first aid if necessary, and then we gather information regarding the events and the party from the different parties, and we document what happened. All right, an aquatic emergency. We have lifeguards, but if the lifeguard isn't available and you are comfortable swimming and trying to help that person, do it if you're comfortable with it. If you don't feel comfortable, we do not want 2 victims. Yeah, I know that sounds bad. We do not want 2 victims. All right, aquatic emergency, if you can make contact with the victim to rescue them, we do so, and then we go into our CPR first aid training. Upon response, we give 2 breaths, continue until the victim reaches the closest side, and then it talks about the breaths. I would tell you that if the person is conscious and we just breathe them for them, it's 1 breath every 5 seconds. If it's an adult, 1 every 3 seconds. If it's a child or an infant, and when we get them on the deck, we reassess them. If they do not have a pulse, we start CPR. Okay, if we do have the bag valve mask, then we can give them the bag valve mask. 1 person doing the compressions, another person is doing the breathing. You get I'm going to block you with my video, but who here knows where the AED is? Give me a thumbs up if you know where the AED is on your location. Who knows what an AED is? Okay, thank you, Mr. Misha. Okay, Ms. Rabaya. Okay, thank you, Ms. Adriana. All right, so if there's a person who is not breathing, we go get the AED, we send someone to go and get the AED, and then we follow the prompts. Very good. All right. That's the rescue aquatic emergency. We do not administer oxygen, so we're okay with that. All right, the next one, aquatic emergency, monitor weather if severe weather is threatening. When we are at the YMCA, if there is thunder, we shut down the pool. And we keep the pool shut down until there's been 30 minutes since the last episode of thunder. If this is your swim day and there's thunder, we shut down the pool. So if you made your field trip over here from another site and there's thunder, we will not let them swim. They can fuss, but we will not let them swim. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Lightning storm, all like outdoor activity, obviously, we come inside, try to get them away from the windows and doors, but unplugging equipment. Tornadoes, no more outdoor activities. We have interior rooms, tornado watch and tornado warning. Evacuate participants to an interior room, get away from windows. Try to keep people in the building if we can. If parents want to come and pick the child up, we have no control over that, but we try to keep everyone in the building. We need to monitor for updates, and we wait for an all clear. If there's any damage, then we do an assessment of the damage.
Baby.
All right, severe weather. So that was a severe weather thing. If there is a smell of smoke or fire, if we see any smoke in the building, we activate the fire alarm and we call 911. When we activate the fire alarm, that means we evacuate the building to the designated evacuation site. Okay, there should be, for us, we want to get on the field as far away from the building as possible. If that's the closest location, if they're over in the pool, we may go to the parking lot, but we want to evacuate the building. Okay, and then we are gathering our rosters and we're doing a check when we get outside to make sure that no one else is left behind. Okay, get away from the building. And then if we need to assist anyone with moving, getting away, then we provide that assistance. Those who have stairs, we don't use the elevators. We take the stairs. We are a one-floor location, so that doesn't apply to us. Okay. We inform the fire rate of the responding units of where the smoke was seen or smelled. Okay. And if we must move the person or someone is injured, we help them to get to a safe location if they require assistance. Trained staff should use fire extinguishers, and only if the fire is small. Always use fire extinguishers in pairs if you can get the second one. Do not return to an evacuated building unless we've been cleared by fire. I'm going to stop sharing, and I want someone to unmute, and someone who's familiar with using a fire extinguisher, and tell me what is the acronym, the abbreviation for using a fire extinguisher. Mr. Anisha is smiling because I'm trying it. There's a four letter way to make sure that you understand about the use of a fire extinguisher. Go ahead, Ms. Carlin. I saw Carlin Hall unmute. Am I to gather that no one is familiar with the process? If you're not, tell me so I can tell you.
I need to know.
Okay.
Okay,
right.
but in my defense, I am physically incapable of being able to handle a fire extinguisher.
Okay. All right. So it's called PASS. PASS. All right. And you want to write this down somewhere where you will remember it. PASS. PASS. The P is to pull the pin. Every fire extinguisher should have a pin that protects it from being discharged. So the first thing you want to do is pull that pin. The next thing is A. The A in PASS is aim. You want to aim the extinguisher nozzle to the base of the fire. The next S in PASS is squeeze. You want to squeeze the trigger to release the ingredients from the extinguisher. And the last S is sweep. You want to use a sweeping motion to try to contain that fire. So you pull the pin, you aim it, you squeeze it, and you sweep, pass. That's how you use a fire extinguisher. Once a fire extinguisher has been used, it is no good it has to be taken out of service, and it has to be recharged or replaced. So we want to document that we used it, want to take it out of service, and have it replaced. What questions do you have on that? All right, very good. All right, going back. If you ever see smoke, if you ever smell smoke, call 911. You don't have to. If you see smoke, now I said see, the smell, if you see smoke, call 911. Okay. Activate the fire alarm so we can get out of the building, and then call 911. Give them the address and give them the location in the building where the smoke was seen. All right, bomb threats. All right, somebody calls and says there's a bomb at your facility. Stay calm try to get as much information about the bomb that the person, if they'll answer, and the caller. There's a list of different questions that you can ask. Okay? If they are serious, they probably aren't going to tell you these answer these questions for you. Okay, but you try to get them to tell you where is it located. Is going to be the first thing we want to know. When is it set to go off? Okay, is it in a container? What does it look like? What type of bomb? What will call? So we want to try to ask these questions. Okay, even if they don't answer, if they just leave the line open, we leave the line open. We don't get panicked and hang up the phone. We leave the line open. Many times there's stuff that takes place in the background that could give some information about who the caller is or where they're calling from. Okay, male or female, accent, background noise. Okay, we don't hang up. If they hang up, man, we can't do anything about that. But if they don't hang up, we don't hang up either. Okay, get someone else to call 911. Okay, you can maybe, I don't know about the phones that you were going to be using, but there's a mute button on many phones where you can you can hear the other person talking. They don't hear you talking, and then you can ask someone to call 911 for you. Get in touch with your supervisor or whoever the lead is on at that time. Let them know. Clear and secure all the program areas. Escort members to exit and evacuate the building. If you find something that appears out of place, a suspicious package, something that nobody that you knew brought there, okay, leave it where it is. We just make sure that the police know, and we only re-enter after we've been released from the authorities. Remember, we have an evacuation area. You want to get as far away from the building as you possibly can. All right. So AED and life-threatening emergencies, we talked about a little bit of that during the CPR and first aid. Okay. But if somebody's unresponsive, we go through the steps to try to see if they are asleep or they're really unresponsive. We try to get help. We try to do the assess the scene, and we do all the things that we've been talked about, that we've been taught, that we learned in our CPR first aid training. Have someone call 911, and when it says, just call out a person's name. Adriana, call 911. Stefan, go get the AED. Because a lot of times we ask somebody call 911. Somebody's waiting on somebody to do it, and it doesn't get done. So we identify someone. You call 911. You go get the AED. All right. Check the pulse. We know that okay, now I'm not doing the CPR training, but we know we check on the adults in one location, we check on the child in a different location. If they're unresponsive, they have no pulse, then we start CPR until the AED arrives. The AED is assessing or charging up. We continue with our compressions and breathing until the AED tells us to clear. All right. Try to keep the person calm. If there's a serious injury, okay, get medical help. Try to keep the person in place if possible. If they're seizing, anything that can endanger them or damage them, we move from around them. Avoid contact with bodily fluids. Always use universal precautions. Universal precautions means that everybody that is on this call could potentially have a communicable disease. We don't know, so we respond in kind. First aid and chemical exposure for chemicals. We flush the eyes. We hold the eyelids open. It says for a minimum of 15 minutes. Flush the eyes away from the rest of the body. So if the chemical is in the right eye, then you turn the person's head to the right. You flush the waters down from the right so that it doesn't go from one eye to the other. That makes sense? So if it's in the left eye, we turn the head to the left. We flush the water from the right to the left to flush it away from the body, not across the eyes, not across the nose. So if the chemical is in the person's right eye, we turn the head to the right and we flush the water from the left to the right. So the chemical is going to run here and then out. Okay, we don't want to have the chemicals in the one eye. We turn the head and then we flush the chemicals out of this eye into this eye. Everybody follow me? Yes, no?
Yes, yes, thumbs up.
All right, very good. All right, the chemical inhalation, try to get into an area of fresh air. Call 911, call poison control, okay, if necessary. All right, for ingestions, we have each chemical should have a safety data sheet. We talk about what you should do. Encourage the victim to drink only if indicated on the SDS. Do not force fluids on an unconscious individual. There's most chemicals that are ingested, you do not want them to vomit it back up. That means the chemical will have impacted their digestive system going down. If we have them vomit up, it comes back, is exposed again. So we try to not induce vomiting unless we're told to do so by a physician or a poison control. All right, and then understand that if they do vomit it up, somebody's gonna have to clean up that area, try to contain it, try to keep as many people away from the contaminated area as we can. Gas leaks, call 911. If you smell gas, suspect a gas leak, CSOL operations. You do not want to do anything that could potentially create a spark. Okay, turning on the light switch, turning on electrical equipment. It says using radios and walkie-talkies. Okay, because if it's a natural gas leak and there's a spark, it's like taking a match and throwing it on the fuel. You can expect there to be a reaction to it. So we try to eliminate anything that could potentially create a spark or set off ignite it. Evacuate the building, assist any persons who need assistance. After exiting the building, notify the director, and don't return until we're cleared. Bodily fluids, cleanups, vomit, urine. Number 2, use a spill kit to clean up the body fluids. Use gloves and disposable CPR airway when necessary. Dispose of waste, needles in the proper containers. We should have some hazardous materials in sharp containers, so use those. Always wash your hands and document what happened. Document the steps that you take. Documentation is going to save you and us. Documentation is going to save you and us. I'm going to unmute for a second. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, and I'm going to ask Mr. Neist to share with you her new revelation about documenting and memory. Writing it down and trying to remember it.
So Mr. John has this saying, when it comes to writing things down. The saying is the faintest, hold on, let me think about it real quick. The faintest ink is stronger or better than the strongest memory. Did I say it correct? Okay, so let me say that again. The faintest ink is better than the strongest memory, meaning that it's always important or it's always better to write things down. Like the faintest ink is a metaphor or is a symbol of like a pen. Like it's always better to write something down than to try to remember it off the top of your head.
Thank you, ma'am. So document is going to save you. It's going to save us. Okay, because you'll be surprised at how many people are going to call Dan Newland, or call Morgan and Morgan to try to get something. And if you can demonstrate that you followed the training that you had, you can demonstrate that you took the right steps, precautions, you did everything within your power to try to protect the individuals that we serve, it will work out to your in your best interest. All right, going back to share, we're almost done, guys. We're doing good. All right, document. All right, chemical spills. Evacuate the area, close the doors, call the director, go to the safety data sheet. Safety data sheet, all it is it's a description of what the chemical is, what the chemical can do to you, what you should do with the chemical, and how to treat yourself if you're exposed. Okay, it's a safety data sheet, and it should have everything that we need to know about dealing with that particular chemical. All right. All right, missing person. All right, so if we have a child that's missing, we don't freak out. For these, our site, the phrase or the terminology we use is a pot of gold. If it ever comes across the radio that we have a pot of gold, that means that somebody's count came up short. There's a student somewhere different than where we expect them to be. And so we have a pot of gold. When we call a pot of gold, it means every group stops whatever they're doing and they stage in place. And we do a count of that group. I don't know if you all have experienced this at other sites, but it is common for some of the children to want to be with their brother, want to be with their cousin, want to be with their friends, even though that's not the group they're assigned to. So they may go and just walk into another group. All right. So we have everyone stop. We see if we have everybody we're supposed to have. We see if we have somebody we're not supposed to have, because that's how we can start getting things back in order. The missing child is in the child care. We bring all the children to a central location. We take roll call. We get a description of what that child is wearing. So that means that you as a counselor, you should have an idea of what that child has on today or what they're wearing. Green shorts with dinosaurs on them and a orange and yellow tank top. They were wearing black shoes, and you say, Mr. John, do I need that much detail? It sure will help us to identify them or put a description out. So yes, we want you to pay attention to what they're wearing that day. In the event something happens, okay? We notify the site supervisor, the site lead, okay? Where was the person, when was the last time you did your count? Was the person with you then? Okay, so where have you been since you all did your last count? Okay, was a person upset? Or are they going through something that you know about? Have they been asked to sit out because of something that happened between them and another child? Okay, what's going on with them? Okay, we make sure that we notify the parents. If the person is an adult, that's a whole different thing. Okay, if we need to notify the authorities, we do that as well. Okay, but first thing we're doing, we're trying to locate that child. It is common for us for us at our site to grab a child and take that child with us to allow the council to go through the process to make sure that we are doing it the way that we want it to be done. All right. Now, so if it's an actual incident, an actual missing person, then we start with the notifications to all the important members of the government. All right. Reporting child abuse. All of you all should have taken the Presidium training. If you haven't, please take the Presidium training because it talks about it. We are a mandatory reporter. Mandatory reporter means that if we see something that gives us cause for concern, if the child tells us something that gives us cause for concern, if we observe things on the child that gives us cause for concern, then we have to go through the process of reporting it, okay? Please talk to your site supervisor. Please talk to talk to the director, and we will go through those steps to make sure that we are doing it the way that it's supposed to be done according to state statute. Again, this is intended to protect each one of you. All right. And now I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to give you a situation. I want to hear a discussion. on what you think should happen in this situation. So here's the description. An adult comes to you as one of the staff members, lead, supervisor. An adult comes to you and tells you that one of the campers has made inappropriate comments and gestures to them as a staff member. The child has made inappropriate comments or gestures to the staff member. Okay, it's not where the staff member identifies something, it's where the staff member is now the person who is a recipient of that behavior. How do you think that should be handled? I'm going to mute, and I want you all to unmute and share.
Okay. First step is teaching the kids not to say and do those types of things. Second is to find out where he learned that. I believe.
I missed your order, so if you can kind of talk into the microphone, or the first step was to do what?
First step. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
First step is to, you know what? No, the first step is to find out where that child learned that from. You want to be able to trace it back to its source, make sure that it wasn't, to find out what had happened to that child. It might just be that they found something online and they started quoting. It might not. So we want to make sure that there's nothing going on with that. Second step is to teach that kid not to do that anymore. To talk with them, have a discussion so they know what's right and what's wrong. If they're already doing those gestures, they already know it, but you gotta teach them not to do those types of things. That's what I would want to do at any rate.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Misha, I saw you on mute.
Well, I think I might need to hear what everybody else has to say for a minute. I unmuted, but then it's kind of loud where I'm at, so I had to mute back for a minute. If that's okay.
I believe I'd probably go to either another counselor to talk with the camper, or I'd go to somebody above me to talk with the camper because I wouldn't think that I should talk to them about it.
So my question is, what are the steps that we would take given that if that incident were to occur? A counselor comes to you, either as a fellow counselor or a supervisor, and tells you that a camper made a statement and a gesture toward them, and they wanted to make us aware of it. What do we do with that information?
Okay, I'm unmuting now. I think first and foremost, especially depending on the intensity. Well, if it's an inappropriate gesture, whoever the camper's guardians is should be notified first of all of the incident, so that it's handled from that angle as well. I think the camper need to know that that's not tolerated. I think they need to know that information, that inappropriate, any gesture or words is not tolerated at the YMCA, and it's offensive And we definitely should notify the guardian. Maybe a warning should be put in place depending on the intensity of it. If it's real intense, then it might call for something a little bit more than a warning. That's what I think.
I would love to hear at least two more thoughts before we move forward. Mr. Neese?
I think in a scenario where a camper is reporting that a counselor made some sort of um, gesture that made them feel uncomfortable, my first gut reaction would be to share this information with the director and have a conversation with the counselor.
Okay, with that being
So the
said, I have my
counselor,
information flipped
counselor is
around.
reporting that I'm sorry, Mr. Misha, the counselor is reporting that the camper made the gesture and made the statement. So it's the reverse of what we would normally expect.
Oh, well, then the same thing would apply, just with the camper instead. That's something I would share with the people above me so we can have a conversation with the child and also the parent as well.
All right, one more person, please. Thank you, Mr. Neese.
Is there something in particular you're looking for?
I'm looking for the thought process of our staff.
If
And
you
for the
don't mind
record,
me saying something, working with children, I have a very low tolerance for children exposing other children to inappropriate stuff. Sometimes that's something you don't want somebody else's child to be exposed to something inappropriate. So I have very little patience for that. So depending, like I said, there's so many ranges of what's inappropriate. It could be something from foul language to something just like grossly inappropriate. So definitely depending on what it is would determine how far we would need to handle the situation.
okay. All right, so so this was an actual situation that occurred here where the counselor, the adult, made a statement that the child had stated something and then it made an offensive gesture. Okay. And so what we did is once we received the information, we began a fact finding. Okay. A fact finding is a situation where we get reports from all the people who were present. So the first thing that we did is we went and asked for witnesses, and we took those witnesses one at a time and asked them about what happened with them on that date. We try to ask it in a way that it, especially for the child, that it doesn't give the child any indication that we have formed an opinion on what they are accused of doing, because at this page, it is an accusation, it's an allegation. So it's not something that's been proven. Because we are doing a fact finding with a parent, we did notify the parents. And we gave the parents the option of sitting with the child when we asked the child those questions. Okay. Anytime we're doing something to that degree with a minor, that minor has the right to have a parent there with them. All right. So we talked to the adult, to the counselor. The counselor listed other individuals who were supposedly witnesses to the incident. So we had each of those individuals to write down their account of what they observed. Okay, and this is again one of those times when what did you observe? Not what did you think? Not what have you heard? What did you see? What did you hear? Because anything beyond that doesn't count. What did you see? What did you hear? And once we were able to get all the information from all the witnesses from the child, then we compared everything. And in this case, it turned out to be unfounded, unsubstantiated. Okay, but had it been something different, then we would have had to take other actions with it. Okay, we were unable to corroborate the story. Okay, but it gave us an opportunity to go through a fact finding to determine whether or not it's something that we need to give more attention to. Okay, so that's normally going to be the process. We find out who were witnesses one at a time. We get the stories from the witnesses. We try to get them to write their stories. Again, if we're dealing with the younger children who aren't able to write, or we ask appropriate questions without accusing the child of anything, but we try to ask questions that will get us to a clear understanding of what happened. Okay, and I'll stop there to see if you guys have any thoughts. All right, very good. All right, let's finish it up. All right, reporting child abuse, reporting red flag behavior. Please notify supervisor of any red flag behavior you see regarding other staff or program participants, staff or program participants, staff or children, staff on children, children on children, children on staff. Okay, some things that we are considered red flags. We having children sitting on your lap, tickling children, giving the children's special gifts that aren't available to everyone, who are one-to-one ratio with the child, who neglect to leave children unsupervised, physically, verbally, sexually, or mentally abused children. Physically, throwing stuff at them, hitting them, trying, oh, I was just playing. No, we don't play that way. Verbal, the words that we use, the comments that we make, the abuse that we do to their mental well-being, all of those are inappropriate. Who touch participants in their bathing suits. Our hands don't belong on anyone else. Participants using personal social media, okay, we don't become friends with them. We don't follow them on their whatever. Who use computers to access pornographic sites, take pictures of campers on their personal devices, who meet with them off-site. And none of that is appropriate. All of those are considered red flags. A suspicious unauthorized person. If we have a person who approaches our students who is not a member of our staff, they should not be there. We will have lanyards with tags. In the event we have our partners who come on site, if we have a vendor who comes on site, if we have parents who agree to volunteer, all those individuals should be wearing lanyards that say that they've been approved by the YMCA to be there. To the extent that we can, and to the extent that we know, we will be communicating with the site lead or the site supervisor anytime that there is a person that we are aware who should be coming to visit the site. Okay, but I know that you have parents, and for those of you who are in the schools, you have summer camp that's going on. Okay, but you should be once we separate for summer camp and summer school. Okay, unauthorized person should not be with the summer camp participants. Those of you who are in community buildings, people who are used to just coming there whenever they want to, when it's time for summer camp, unauthorized persons should not be permitted to be around those children. It's for their protection, it's for your protection, it's for our protection as an organization. Okay. approach, if the situation appears to be safe, then you can go to the individual and ask, may I help you? Explain to them how we're in summer camp, and so on these days and during these hours, we only allow individuals who've been cleared to be here. So I know you understand, but do you mind leaving the facilities at this time while we have our children here in summer camp? If they agree, it's all well and good. If they disagree and start trying to give you business, then we go a different step. We may even as far as calling 911. All right, but we go and introduce ourselves, ask, can I help you? And then ask them to leave if they don't have a legitimate reason for being there. Right? And this is something that I had to do here at the YMCA with an individual who just tried to impose himself on our group. And I told him what was going on. I told him what we were doing. I told him who I was, and I asked him to leave. And I told him that he was not permitted to be here with our children during these times. Never try to apprehend any suspicious unauthorized person. Get a description of them, head to toe, and the clothing. Head to toe. What kind of hair? What color was he? Black, white, green, purple, yellow? Was he? How tall she was? What was she wearing? Get a description of the person, and that way we can give that to law enforcement when they respond. Okay. The faintest ink, as Ms. Trinice said, is stronger than this. Is better than the strongest memory. Write it down. All right. Suspicion of violence. Any information regarding suspected or planned acts of violence in the YMCA, somebody says, hey, they say they're going to come and do this. They're going to start a fight. They're going to beat up this person. Any suspicion of violence, we communicate that. We try to get ahead of it to protect as many people. Okay. In the events of actual situation of violence, evacuate and call 911. Don't try to be the hero by trying to subdue someone. Okay. Don't. I wouldn't do it. Okay. It would have to be a really severe situation for me to try to apprehend someone. So I won't say I won't do it, but there are certain situations only in which I'll do it. All right. An armed intruder lockdown procedure. I'm going to go over this now, but tomorrow we're going to go over the active shooter training. So I'm going to go over this real briefly. If you're aware, call 911, try to leave safely without being observed. You can't leave safely, call 911 if you're able to do so. Try to get in a place where there are no windows or lights, and try to keep the door secure. Try to get the children to be calm and quiet, and hopefully not draw any attention to that site. If you're a victim or involved in a holdup or an intruder situation, your personal safety is our concern. No sudden movements. If it's possible to put some distance between you and a person or something between you all, try to do that. You stay calm, and hopefully by you staying calm, it can help us keep the situation calm. Okay, so you want to be in control of yourself. Control your fear by observing as much things as possible about the person. We've already talked about how to identify. Look for things about the person. I don't encourage you to try to make eye contact with them unless you are trained to do that. Okay, but anything that you identify about that person that could be useful in helping us in the future. All right, and if you can get away, get away. If you have children, you don't leave those children. Okay, don't leave those children. You're responsible for them. All right, never argue with the intruder. Never try to subdue them. Don't, we already talked about that, but we don't share information to the media. That's not our job. Okay, I've already said about the eye contact. Don't try to be heroic, and don't never try to keep the person from leaving. All right, and don't go and disrupt or upset the crime scene. All right, evacuate if you can, hide out if you can't, and if you can't get away, you can't hide. On the last resort, take action. Okay, and last resort, take action. When law enforcement arrives, remain calm. Follow the officer's instructions. Officers don't know whether you're one of the good guys or the bad guys, so follow their instructions. Raise your hands, spread your fingers, keep your hands visible at all times, no quick movements, don't point, don't scream, don't yell, and don't try to help them. They've been trained to do this, you just follow their instructions. If you know it, tell where the person was last seen. If you know there's more than one, try to tell how many are, give a description of them. And if you know anything about the weapons, try to describe that. Signs of workplace violence. Okay, typically the person many times is someone who was a former employee or disgruntled employee. So people going through with depression, withdrawal, this kind of goes without saying. I'll unmute for this. Okay, but a lot of times just be kind to the people that you're working with. Okay, everybody start laughing and talking about them, and then you start jumping into it and you get on the bandwagon. It's not, I mean, these are our coworkers, these are our family members, our work family. So we're kind to the people that we work with. We're considerate of what they may be dealing with, and we're there to support them. If there's a situation that takes place and you're able to help them to negotiate or resolving it effectively, try to resolve the conflict. You want to keep it from becoming something bigger. I heard somebody say recently that you take care of the small stuff while it's still small. Okay, you don't wait for it to blow up, and then you come in trying to fix it. No, you either run to the situation with a bucket of water or a bucket of gasoline. If there's a fire, run with the water. Try to bring things under control. Don't run with the gasoline and agitate and make the thing worse. All right. Let's see what else is there. I think we're nearing the end here. Communication procedures in case of emergency, call 911, appropriate staff, evacuate the area, notify someone in leadership and management. We don't speak to the media, so they don't have to worry about that. Cooperate with authorities, know and record all essential facts. All records and reports are considered internal documents. We don't release them to others unless we are court ordered to do so. Don't share this information with people outside of the organization. I know you say, well, Mr. John, I just need to go home and talk to my partner at the house because I got to get this stress off of me. Okay. There's only certain information that you should be sharing. We should never share names. We should never share personally identifiable information. Okay. And yeah, those types of things. All right. Okay, you see number 12 says staff with clearance to respond to the media should respond with the following statement. Our spokesperson will be here momentarily. We're gathering information. We'll get back to you as quickly as can, or no, or it says don't say no comment. All right, so use that statement. Our spokesperson will be here and they will be available to answer your questions. Okay, stay calm, evacuate, to assist those individuals who need evacuating. Okay. This is just the place where we put our notes, our phone numbers and stuff like that. All right, what questions do you have for me? I know we've gone through a lot of information. We did record it, but I know we went through a lot of information. What questions? I need 2 people to unmute and tell me something that you got from today's session. And most of you have your names on your muted face, so I can call your names if you don't volunteer.
Okay. Well, what's fresh in my mind is it's best to use a faint pen than to go on memory alone.
That's one. I would like one more, please.
Well, not playing the hero is an important one, and making sure you follow the safety rules, basically, that you guys that you just spelled out. I'm hoping we never have to deal with that. I really am. But being 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 calm and collected to everybody's situation is good advice. It's kind of easy to kind of forget that other people are going through stuff. So
All right, very good. That was two. Well, thank you all. We let you go before 7 o'clock. All right. Stop recording. The recording will be available in the shared drive. If you know someone who has agreed to work with us and they're not attending the training, please reach out to them and find out what's going on. This training is for, this is in lieu of you all being here in person. So we opted for this route to try to make it convenient. Okay, but this is staff training for counselors. And so we are looking for as many people as possible to attend this training so that you can't go to campus and say, well, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. That's why we're spending this time. But I have stuff to do too, but I'm here every evening that we have training scheduled to make sure that we provide this information for you. So please make sure that those who are working with you that you know of, that they are here for the trainings. Thank you all so much for your time. You all have a great evening, and we'll be here tomorrow if nothing changes at 5 o'clock. Bye.